Michael Penix Jr. Wow, what a season Michael Penix Jr. has had for Washington. Just flat out impressive for Washington. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Michael Penix having a great season for Washington. In fact, Washington is currently ranked number 5 in the country, and they are also undefeated with a 10-0 record. Michael Penix Jr. has played a big role in the success of Washington, as he is a legitimate candidate to win the Heisman Trophy this season. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. Will Michael Penix Jr. end up winning the Heisman Trophy this season? Honestly, that depends on how Washington will do in the rest of their games. If Washington wins out, then absolutely, Michael Penix Jr. is going to win the Heisman Trophy award. Right now, Michael Penix Jr. controls his destiny in terms of whether or not he will end up winning that award. However, I don't have Washington winning out. Yeah, I understand that their schedule isn't that hard the rest of the year, even though they do play against at number 10 Oregon State, but I do expect Washington to beat Oregon State rather comfortably. I say that because Oregon State's run game on offense isn't that great, while Washington's run game on defense has actually been pretty solid. If Washington's run defense shows up against Oregon State's run offense, then this is a game that Washington should win rather comfortably. And then they play Washington State to finish out the season. This is a game that Washington should be able to win rather easily. You want to talk about Michael Penix Jr. having a great year? Go ahead and look at the statistics sheet. This guy has been incredible for them. They've been spread happy. They've been willing to throw the ball a lot. And why not? Michael Penix Jr. has been able to throw the football pretty effectively. When I watch Michael Penix Jr. play, I think of him as a bigger Tua Tagovailoa. That's how good Michael Penix Jr. has been. The guy is thick. He can throw a good deep ball. Even though his deep ball isn't that great, he doesn't have great arm strength. You know what? It's not like his deep arm has been holding him back from greatness in college football. Now, whether or not that's going to hold him back in the NFL, that's another discussion for another day. But since we're talking college football, Michael Penix Jr. has a pretty good arm. But I know this, he has elite accuracy when throwing the football. When I watch Michael Penix Jr. throw dots, I'm thinking, wow, this guy is special at throwing into tight windows. This guy knows how to make accurate passes down the field, and especially in the quick game. When I watch Michael Penix Jr. play, I'm thinking this is a guy that can at least be a solid game manager if he gets to the NFL. And if we're talking about him from a college football perspective, I'm thinking this is a guy that can lead Washington to the college football playoff. Now, do I think it's going to happen? Heck no, I don't see that happening, because I don't think they're going to win the Pac-12 title game. I think that they're going to go up against Oregon. I think that the matchup is going to be Washington versus Oregon. And I say that because I'm looking at the Pac-12 conference right now. I'm thinking, yeah, even though it's pretty stacked right now, the conference championship is basically almost set. If it isn't already set, I'm looking right now. If Washington beats Oregon State, that means Washington is going to get a spot in the Pac-12 championship game. That's also going to put Oregon State at 3 losses. Remember, USC and Utah already have 3 losses to the season. So if Oregon is supposed to play good football, they're going to go ahead, win out the rest of the games, and they're going to go ahead and go to the Pac-12 championship game. So I see an Oregon and Washington matchup happening. Now, if that happens, that's going to be a matchup for the ages. Remember, those two teams played against each other earlier in the year. Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. played really well in those games. Ultimately, it just came down to who had the ball last, and Michael Penix Jr. had the ball last, and he made the plays happen late in the game. I'm not saying Bo Nix couldn't have done that, because I believe that Bo Nix had the ball last, he would have been able to do the same thing. Look, Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. have been extremely productive in the Pac-12 this season. We talk about Caleb Williams all the time in terms of the mainstream media for how well he has been able to elevate USC's supporting cast. But how about Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix? Those guys have elevated their teams more than Caleb Williams has for USC. I'm starting to think that Caleb Williams might be overrated, but that's another discussion for another day. What I'm here to talk about is Michael Penix and how he can be a distributor of the football. They like to throw the ball a lot, and they like to be able to involve their weapons a lot. They got Michael Penix Jr. throwing the football. They got Dylan Johnson, Will Nixon, and Tybo Rogers running the football. Now, they don't run the football a whole lot, but when they do run it, they're pretty good at it. They can average about 6 yards a carry. That's how good those running backs have been, but they're not really running the ball against stacked boxes. They're running the ball against light boxes. And then you look at the receiving room, they got 4 guys that can catch the football pretty effectively, and they're also 3 deep at tight end as well. Remember, they also use Dylan Johnson in the passing game. When you look at Washington State's offense, you're thinking, man, their receiving core is really good, and they like to throw the football a lot. They got that Odunze guy, they got Polk, they got Bernard, they got McMillan. They're 4 deep at receiver. Their receiving core is pretty good. Their problems in general has been that they haven't been able to play a lot of strong competition, at least to the national media. I'm not doubting Washington's greatness, but a lot of people have been doubting them, and that's because of the fact that they play in the Pac-12. Now, if you've been following college football this year, you guys all know that Pac-12 football has been superior superior to the rest of the college conferences this season. But when you talk about the history of the Pac-12, they have generally been known to have weaker defenses and weaker competition. And because of that reputation, that's why a lot of people have been sleeping on Washington. That's why Washington is 10-0 right now, and no one is talking about them. All these teams getting upset on college football week in and week out, but nobody ever notices that Washington wins the games that they're supposed to win. They had a tough game against USC earlier this year. Michael Penix Jr. says, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and duel it out. I'm going to go ahead and win that game for my team. I'm going to go ahead and put up 52 points. Yeah, my defense allowed 42 points, but I'm going to be great and take care of my side of the ball where I'm going to be playing effective football. Or just look at the Oregon game where Oregon, they throw for 4 touchdowns. Bo Nix has a great game, but Michael Penix Jr. says that doesn't matter because I'm going to go out there and play great football. I'm going to let the results speak for themselves, and that's exactly what he did. And as a result of that, that's why Washington is currently ahead of Oregon right now. I think Washington and Oregon are going to go ahead and win out. I think that it's going to be a Pac-12 championship rematch of Washington versus Oregon. That's going to be an interesting one. The reason I say rematch is because those two teams went up against each other earlier in the season, not because they went up against each other in last year's Pac-12 championship game. When you talk about last year's Pac-12 championship game, that was Utah going up against USC. Well, this year, I got that being a different matchup. I got that being Oregon versus Washington. Unfortunately, I don't see Washington winning that game in a rematch. I mean, look, I would not be surprised if Washington beat Oregon in a rematch, but I don't see it happening because those two teams played so even last time, and I'm expecting it to be another great game where it's going to come down to the wire. But I believe that Oregon will end up being the better team when you compare them to Washington in the Pac-12 championship game. So that means that Oregon is going to win that game, and whoever wins that game, in my mind, is going to end up winning the Heisman Trophy because both Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. have been incredible this season. But when you talk about Pac-12 championship games, if Bo Nix outplays Michael Penix Jr. in that championship game, I can't see how you can't give that award to Bo Nix because Bo Nix has been incredible all year long. He's been able to be a distributor of the football, and I know you can say the same thing for Michael Penix Jr., but when you look at head-to-head, if Oregon ends up beating Washington, that means that the head-to-head would be 1-1. That means that it's going to be basically at deadlock, and when you talk about individual players, I think that Bo Nix is a better player than Michael Penix Jr. However, if Washington wins out, then of course Michael Penix Jr. is going to go ahead and win the Heisman Trophy. I've heard that Jayden Daniels has been in the race for the Heisman Trophy, even though he's had a phenomenal year for LSU, and I'm a big-time fan of Jayden Daniels. I don't think that Jayden Daniels should win the Heisman Trophy this year, mainly because of the fact that his team is already at 3 losses, and I don't think guys that are on 3-loss teams or worse should be able to contend for the Heisman Trophy unless if they're just having an absolutely historic year that nobody can break any records whatsoever, because of the fact that at the end of the day, Heisman Trophy winners are supposed to elevate rosters on their team, and Jayden Daniels has not been able to elevate LSU's roster the way that Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. have had for their teams. You look at what Bo Nix is doing at Oregon, you're thinking, wow, this is a really good quarterback that has put Oregon in the conversation to win the Pac-12 this year. They might even be in the college football playoff if some things go right for them. Same thing with Washington. You look at what Michael Penix Jr. has been able to do for Washington this year, just absolutely incredible. If Washington wins out, they're probably going to make the college football playoff because that's how good they've been. Imagine a Pac-12 team actually making the college football playoff. That is going to be a truly special season. If that happens, you have to give Michael Penix Jr. the award. However, I don't see Michael Penix Jr. leading Washington to an undefeated season. It's just simply too hard to do. If they get Oregon in a rematch, I believe Oregon gets the best of them. I do think Washington will win out the remaining games in the regular season. However, they will finish the season with a 12-1 record, and although that's extremely good, that's not good enough to make the college football playoff this year. And if that's not good enough, then I don't see Michael Penix Jr. winning that award, because if Oregon also goes 12-1 in their season while Bo Nix outplays Michael Penix Jr., then that means Bo Nix is going to have to win that award over Michael Penix Jr. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of the situation. I do think Michael Penix Jr. currently controls his destiny. However, I don't see him winning the Heisman Trophy award. I see that title going to Bo Nix. So that is why Michael Penix Jr. will not end up winning the Heisman Trophy, as Bo Nix will end up winning that award this season. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Dustin Tran and at Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter at Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content. that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.